A decapitated head maintains consciousness for 17 seconds. Merry Christmas! Okay, so I haven't done one of these video reviews in quite a while, and I apologize for that. And this is going to be a movie review for the sequel to Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows. Personally, I thought that this was a superior effort to the first Sherlock Holmes movie, which, while I enjoyed somewhat, it left me feeling kind of numb in the sense that it wasn't really memorable. I kind of forgot all about it the second day. But with Game of Shadows, I think that the action scenes were tighter, the humor was better. I certainly laughed more than with the first movie. And also the bromance at the heart of the story, the relationship between Sherlock Holmes and Watson, was stronger, more believable. That in part has to do with the fact that, you know, in the first movie, I thought it was kind of creepy the way that Sherlock was obsessed with Watson, so to speak, even though Watson didn't really have much to offer in that relationship. And this time around, Watson has a lot more to do. Jude Law is better in this character. He feels more comfortable with it. He feels like he loosened up a little bit more. He's not intimidated by Robert Downey Jr. anymore. At least that's how I was feeling while watching it. Jude Law, just overall, I tend to believe him more as an action star in this outing than in the previous movie. I kind of wish that the character would get over it, like, look man, either you admit that you enjoy being Sherlock's little bitch, or just, you know, stop complaining about it. But this time around, since he was given more to do, it did feel more like a relationship between equals than in the first movie. Still, you know, there's a scene where Sherlock asks Watson outright, you know, are you happier now doing this stuff with me than you would be like living a rustic country life? And Watson does not give a straight answer, and I wish that they would resolve that character issue by the end of the movie, where Watson comes out and say, yes, comes out of the adrenaline junkie closet and said, yes, the reason why I get involved in all this crap is because I actually enjoy it. Game of Shadows also has a better secondary cast than the first Sherlock Holmes movie, starting with the villain, played by Jared Harris, whom I know from Mad Men. I think Jared Harris delivered a fine performance, and the relationship between Moriarty and Sherlock, it really was a relationship between people that are at opposite ends of the moral spectrum, but at the same time have a lot of respect and admiration for each other. And that's the kind of relationship between hero and villain that it's not that often that you see that kind of relationship in action movies today. Sherlock is supposed to be the greatest detective in the world, but any person that would be given just a minimum of information regarding what Moriarty does business-wise and what was happening around Europe, they could put two and two together and realize why Moriarty would be interested in ways in things developing a certain way. When you get down to it, you know, the plot is overcomplicated for what Moriarty's big plan actually is and what it actually entails. In terms of secondary characters, I also really liked Watson's wife. His new wife. I thought she was kind of feisty. They introduced Stephen Fry as Sherlock Holmes' brother. Brilliant casting move. And also I think Noomi Rapace she's an interesting girl. She's interesting to look at, and she certainly captures some of that gypsy mystique. There's a really cool scene in this where Sherlock Holmes is trying to deduce who the assassin is at this big diplomatic meeting with ambassadors and princes and stuff. And he goes like, oh, well, there's the Austrian ambassador, and then there's the French ambassador, and there's blah, 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 and then there's the Romanian ambassador. And I'm like, dude, the Romanian ambassador at a big diplomatic meeting in Europe. Come on, Romania was never a big European power. Like, the only way we would be at this, like, big diplomatic party is if we crashed that shit like the Wedding Crashers. So overall, I think this was entertaining. This was, it was still like with the first one, I kind of felt like Guy Ritchie was selling out. And Guy Ritchie is still selling out with the sequel. But now he does it in a very clear, entertaining way. He learned something from the first one in terms of pacing, in terms of directing action sequences, also in terms of how to kind of work with that relationship between Sherlock and Watson so that they both come out very well out of it. Nobody is like, Watson isn't Sherlock's little bitch anymore, and I really enjoy that. And a better villain this time around, even though I think that the plot was overcomplicated. It could have been a lot simpler and still deliver the message. But overall, honestly, I liked it more than the first one, and what else is there to say?